Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our scenario is Equinox, a sequel to The Migration. It was written by Sean Little. He will be GMing it for us, and this is episode 4. Our recap will be given by Mick Swan as his character, Dr. Percy Daniels. So, without further delay, let's continue our journey into the darkness. Mick?
Thanks, Tom. Dear Dolly, it was lovely to hear from you as ever, and I greatly enjoyed the shortbread, a delicious reminder of the old country. I'm sorry to hear that you're having complications with your leg. Old age can be so troublesome sometimes. It sounds like your garden is coming on nicely, but I'm not surprised to learn that the azaleas in your kitchen aren't doing so well. They can be such a problematic houseplant. Have you tried adding a wee drop of vinegar to their water? They prefer an acidic soil, and it may be a benefit to them. My apologies for having taken so long to reply, but shortly after receiving your letter, I found myself called away on a wholly unexpected trip to an archaeological dig site, as they call it, in the United States of America. Ohio, to be specific. There are several other locals from Pardue Mills here. Mr. Marsden, our local handyman, Mr. Perry, who is one of the town's many hunters and trappers, and Ma Mackenzie, a rather colourful local character with whom you may be familiar from your visit a few years ago. Also in attendance are Dr. Brody, a professor of biology who visited us a couple of years ago during that unfortunate business with the caribou, and a rather dashing aerialist named Captain Montgomery. It's a curious place. The locals seem to be hiding something, although I have no idea what, and some of my compatriots have been behaving in a most unconventional manner. Dr. Brody seems rather preoccupied with something, and Mr. Perry swears he heard giggling of all things in the woods. Following a trip in Dr. Brody's balloon, which was most exhilarating, I was able to advance a theory about the landscape which I believe may have been of some small use to the archaeologists, or at the very least it made me feel useful for 5 minutes. By the sound of things, they're having an issue with thieves who may have vandalized another site near their dig. I made the acquaintance of Mr. Washburn, the local mayor, who is very interested in the dig, and in particular with the plethora of dogs the archaeologists keep about the place. He's a very hospitable chap and not at all taken by this mania for temperance which seems to have overtaken his countrymen. He confided in me, over a wee nightcap, that he suspects a tramp who passed through the region may be involved in the pilfering on the dig site. Now, I'm inclined to a more romantic view of the gentlemen of the road, preferring to think of them as poetic dreamers wandering blissfully through nature. But I suppose the reality is markedly different, especially in these trying times, so perhaps Mr. Washburn has a point. This brings me to a more troubling incident, one which I feel may upset you, but it had a profound effect on my mood, and I fear that I must unburden myself to someone, or I shall quite lose my wits. Last night, shortly after my conversation with Mr. Washburn, I took to my bed, and sometime later found myself roused from my slumber by a commotion in the hallway. It appears that Ma Mackenzie and Mr. Marsden heard some kind of animal screeching and flapping from outside, and Mr. Marsden swears he saw some kind of enormous winged creature. Of course, I suggested it was probably a large owl, but young Mr. Marsden insisted it was something much larger and wholly more terrifying. He insisted that we give chase to this strange beast, and, having little time to do more than pull on my boots and overcoat, I hurried outside, where we all jumped into the motor car and raced off in pursuit of this avian curiosity. After a fruitless search for the mysterious animal, we ended up at the dig site, wherein we encountered a scene that was at once inexplicable and profoundly disturbing. The dogs, Dolly, the poor dear dogs, had been massacred by some manner of wild beast. The poor beasts appeared to have been raised up by some force and thrown down to earth by what I can only surmise must have been the same creature Mr. Marsden espied. The only witness told of seeing some manner of terrible flying lizard, and with that I was struck by a flood of formerly forgotten memories of awful things I've seen in the wilderness, things far better forgotten. I must say I have my misgivings about this business. As a naturalist, the thought of discovering some new species of animal is certainly seductive, but having seen the carnage this thing has wrought and the terror it seems to strike into the hearts of those who see it, I'm tempted to suggest that this discovery would suit a younger man than I. I am painfully aware of the limitations age has heaped on me, and I fear I would not be up to the task, not by any measure. I'm sorry, dear, to have unburdened myself in this manner, but I find it hard to talk with my companions. They're young and full of vigor, passion, and ideas, and sometimes I struggle to make sense of my thoughts. As I grow older, it becomes harder to put my thoughts in order. Memories come and go unbidden, and I find myself increasingly struggling for the right words with which to articulate myself. The written medium frees me from that burden. I may sit here for some time searching for the right word or phrase, but the finished product happily does not belie that flaw. I hope, dear sister, to have happy news when I next write. Hopefully I will have returned to Pardew Mills in the serene wild beauty of the north. Life down here, for all its conveniences, is perhaps a wee shade too exciting for me. I remain, as ever, your loyal and devoted brother, Percy.
Thank you very much. It was excellent. It's morning, as I remember, or as I make it.
I think we had things that we were going to do. I wanted to talk to the fellow that saw the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the others had other things they wanted to do. Ma's got a meeting.
Yeah, I got a meeting I gotta go to.
It's at 11:30.
Yeah.
It's mid-morning, we'll say.
Well, I would also be interested in talking to this gentleman who saw the creature. It sounds like a very unusual animal. I honestly can't imagine what it could be.
Are you in the restaurant? Just offhand, when you guys are doing, are you still in the lobby of the hotel, or where are you all deciding what you're doing right now?
They were at breakfast.
Okay, that's fine. Go ahead. Sorry.
Did he say it was some sort of lizard?
Oh, yeah. He seemed confused when I said flying lobster. Could this be something else?
Well, you know they've the only thing like that I can think about is they found fossils of great flying dinosaurs.
You're talking about pteranodons and pterodactyls.
Yes, great big things with great big crests on their head.
Well, I've run across these rumors of animals such as that before. There's the Loch Ness monster and so forth. The thing is that for any species to survive, there would have to be quite a few of them, and if there were quite a few of them, we would know about it. So I don't think that there's any dinosaurs living.
Is there not a Native American myth of the Thunderbird?
That is true. You are correct.
They speak of that in Canada. Perhaps it's the same down here, but
causes lightning.
Yes, yeah. One would imagine that perhaps it has a basis in fact. Well, I always imagined it was something like the just an extinct North American condor or something, but
maybe. Certainly there, I mean, the Native American deities are all based on animals. So to base one on a large bird makes sense. It doesn't actually have to mean anything. Well,
however, of course, I mean, I'm suggesting a bird, but the gentleman did quite clearly say that it was a lizard.
I'm wondering, I'm more concerned with what it was doing here. Why was it killing the dogs? And I feel that because of our story that we've been told about the fellow who tried to make that city up at Star City at Pardew Mills, that it was something summoned by the artifact that we're looking for. I think something. I could be completely wrong, but I'm speculating based on the things that we know. Something was digging in that copse. They may have found something, the thing that we're looking for. They used it somehow to summon this dragon, for all intents and purposes, a large flying lizard. But I think that also, that's why I want to talk to the man, that he may have just been hysterical. He may have seen dragon when it was a giant flying lobster. Who knows?
As you're eating and discussing, a vehicle does pull up, and Captain Montgomery is dropped off.
Oh, there's the mysterious Captain Montgomery. I wonder what he's been up to.
He's carrying a box, and he's heading to the front desk, so you go from there.
Dean, we're over here.
Oh, Dr. Brody. Gentlemen, how are we? Ma Mackenzie.
Captain.
Sorry about my little trip there. I had an urgent message from my brother Atticus for a package that I needed to pick up in Chilcooth.
Wow, you missed a rather exciting night.
And I put. Oh, I say. Well, here's the package. I open the box and I sort of look around and make sure there's not too many people watching us, and I pull out. It's very clearly a fake, but it's an exact copy of the piece that was in the video, like in the film we watched, of the opposite side of the connecting star. So they've sent us a copy of that one.
Of the one that was found in Canada.
We're looking for something that looks like this.
Yeah, the opposite side, because remember, it's got one side we think has the stick part to stick into the hole.
Sure.
So it's like the opposing parts. So we've got a fake of the original half.
Well, we had quite the evening last night, and I'll just say we relate to him all of the events that took place.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
And we think that it probably is related to the object, that somebody has found it and used it for nefarious reasons, which, if that's true, it means that there are some people here that know more than what they're saying.
Do we have any leads as to who it may have been who took that piece out of the crop?
We're hoping to talk to the little girl this morning or this afternoon after she gets out of school. Is that right, Mom?
Yeah, I'll meet with her after my meeting.
I think that we should tonight at the or this morning, evening. I'm a little rattled. You understand? When you talk to the ladies, get some information about the other families around here, because who is not liked, who is shunned, who is because some. I'm smelling cult again, you know.
Oh, yes.
Some dark person doing something.
If anyone will know, I think it'll be these ladies. I think they have a good sense of who comes in and out of this town and who's not welcome.
I think it might be a local, because Mr. Zephyr said that all of the archaeologists were pretty well vetted before they were brought in.
Well, and also this tramp we've got.
So I was just going to mention that.
He's probably my number one suspect if I had to pin it on.
How would you feel? How would you feel, Jimmy, if we went up in the Raven and see if we could see any signs of this tramp somewhere?
I like the way you think. That's exactly what I was going to recommend.
All right. Well, if I could suggest, maybe we escort Ma to this talk, and then we go up in the Raven and see if we can see anything, any signs of a campsite, or I can cover a lot more ground in the Raven than the balloon, because I can move further along and so forth. I think that could be the way to go.
Yes. Percy and I will go speak to the man who who saw it.
How hard is it to fly one of those things? Could I do it?
Once we're up there, we might let you take over the controls for a while.
Oh, right.
Just as you're talking, just so you know, it is mid-morning. It's like 9 o'clock or so. You do see from the windows of where you're sitting a horse go by. And it's not, this time, it's in these small towns, especially in the Midwest, it's not unheard of to see people riding horses on streets. Horse rides by, and it's the lady who runs the shop, Ms. Chalmers. And she's behind her, she has a smaller horse that she's towing behind her. And as you recollect from conversation, she drops her daughter off at school on her way to work some days.
I think we actually had this conversation last week. I think that's what we ended on.
Oh, yes. Okay, sorry.
So, yeah.
Just so when I went obviously to the counter, to the desk, they gave me some mail. So I've just sit there and I've opened this note that was left for me, and I've got this really confused look upon my face, and I sort of look at you all, and then kind of like I'm trying to make a decision, and then I go, chaps, does this make at all any sense to you? You need to be made aware of a situation regarding your current employer. There is more to their doings than you have been made aware. Please research the Crimean bombing of 2 years ago and make note of the connections to your work around that time. I will contact you at a later date. B. Sterling.
Well,
Crimean?
it's rather it's rather strange that you should draw attention to that, because I also received
Crimean.
I received a note also from a B. Sterling, although mine is rather less edifying. It simply says, "Sir, be careful. The people you're dealing with are not what they seem. But please, suggest you play along for now. Do not draw suspicion to yourself that you have been made aware of this fact."
B. Sterling.
B. Sterling. The name does ring a bell for some reason.
And this person recommended that you research a bombing in the Crimea.
Yeah, I was supposing so, and get the connections to my work.
How does that connect?
I don't know. Apparently that's what I'm supposed to research.
Mr. Montgomery, you know better than any of us the people involved here. To be honest, our being contacted by them was somewhat alarming. We after what happened in Party Mills, we're very untrustworthy. So I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Apollo or is it Apollo?
Apollo and Dominion, yeah.
And Dominion are collecting artifacts for some reason.
Well, I know they're collecting artifacts for a fact, since I've collected a few for them. But I just assumed it was for we have this and we can put it on display, as a sign of wealth and prosperity, of saying we have this. But I had no idea they would use it for any type of means.
I think the very fact that they are people in power makes them want more power. I don't know. I'm completely speculating. They all might be a bunch of nice guys, and we're completely wrong. But you've been getting notes that say to be careful and watch out.
Yes.
Those could be coming from Mr. B. Sterling. they're just maybe he's as paranoid as we are, but then again, we've kind of kept our minds open about this Dominion and Apollo Corporation.
Mr. Percy, does that name ring a bell to you? Crimean bombing? Sounds military.
Well, I'm of course I'm old enough to remember the war. Well, I am. I didn't fight in it, but I remember it. But that region is very much very fractious. Is that not part of the Soviet Union now? Surely.
Could we do a history roll?
Absolutely.
Maybe it's something we know about.
History. Okay.
I got 22 out of 45.
I failed. 48 out of 30.
Ma's not going to try.
It's not really my...
Yeah. Well, you can remember that there's always, from that part of the world, there's always stories coming out about things happening and the occasional assassination, that sort of thing. But you do remember specifically that about 2 years ago, around October, November, it was in the fall, you remember this, there was a church along a river, and they had photos of it before and after, and it was a beautiful church, hundreds and hundreds of years old. And all you remember is very poorly, it wasn't a town that was populated with lots of people. It was just a small little church in the middle of nowhere. The next day, it was flattened. And when they went, all the reports that were coming out of that area were kind of scattered, but you know that there was a church that was totally destroyed, nothing left whatsoever, and the ground was blackened from whatever destroyed the church. They just assumed it was some terrorist act of some sort.
Mm.
Well, it could be the communists. They did a lot of things like that, but I do seem to recall the photograph. But he wants us to investigate that?
Well, yes, from what he's hinting at, very strongly, is that in some ways this bombing was connected to my own work in the acquisitions department.
Do you wish to do some kind of a memory roll? Well, do you want me to tell you what you were doing 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. 2 years ago, you were on a number of different expeditions. When you think back, when you realized that it was around the fall, you took a break towards the end of summer. You were in Greece.
Okay.
And you do remember you got a very quick, short response. They asked you to pick something up on the border, the northern border of Greece, and it was something in a small seaside town. When you got there, it was a very shifty kind of place you had to go to, a bar, middle of nowhere, and someone just walked up to you before you even got out of your vehicle, handed you a box that contained a book. You know better than to go poking around at what you're handed because you know that the rules are the rules. It was wrapped in some kind of sheepskin and tied with a tight knot in this box. You checked it. It was exactly what you were told to expect. You got in the vehicle, turned around, went right back where you came from. When you returned it to your employer's contacts, they paid you with a bonus. They were extremely happy to receive it. Ecstatic would be the words you would use if you were thinking about the reaction versus previous work. And they did ask you to keep very quiet about this.
Mm.
That's the only work you did between the end of the summer and Christmas time.
So I relay all of that to the others. Yeah.
A book, you say?
Felt like a
yes.
book.
I from when I'm given jobs like these, I don't tend to dig too far into what it is. Maybe I should, but I didn't, and it felt like a book. But who knows? It could have been. But that's the only job that I did around that time. So if he's saying the bombing was connected to my own work, then well, this is the only thing that I can think of that would be. But how could a book be involved with the bombing? And there's recipes to make a bomb. I don't.
Who were the people who picked up the book?
Just workers from Dominion connections. They send people to inform me of things, and so it's almost like pass the parcel, I suppose. I hand it on to someone higher up, and most of my my job is I get told things by my brother Atticus. He's higher up than me, and he's the one that sends me on my jobs and gives me my contacts and who to meet and so on and so forth. So, I mean, even last night, he was the one that sent me off to get this package.
I've heard tell of certain books that are forbidden because they contain dangerous information. I've tried very hard to get my hands on one of them. When I was doing research before all this started, trying to find out more about the Migoi, there was information in a book that's referred to as the Necronomicon. There's a version, there's a translation of it, I think in Latin at Miskatonic University. I think there's another one in the British Museum. But I think the original is written in Arabic or something like that. But this is a book that is considered by many that reading it can drive a person crazy. Just trying to read it apparently can drive you crazy too, because they won't let me see it. If it was a book, I'm wondering if it was some sort of book like this, some incredibly rare. You're sent out for artifacts. Are they ever just regular artifacts that just happen to be valuable?
Yeah, well, more often than not, it is that. It's, you know, going to get these artifacts of some kind, and then I bring them back, and that's why I said that's what made it so interesting when I did bring this item back to my contacts. They were ecstatic. They were beyond happy that I had brought this one in. And let me tell you, this job was a lot easier.
I'm sorry.
No.
The contacts were not the actual people that were after the book. They were just in-betweens.
Yes, yes.
Hey, everyone, just to interrupt, one of us, I don't know, I guess I could run over there real quick. I was going to go talk to Mr. Chalmers before he starts hitting the bottle a little bit harder. Does anyone want to join me real quick? Or
well, why don't Jimmy and I walk you over there and talk to Mr. Chalmers, and then we'll walk you over to the ladies' meeting, and then Dr. Brody and Percy, you can go on to the gentleman who saw the creature, and Jimmy and I will go up in the Raven.
Yes. We've got to go back to the site.
Okay.
all right. So I guess we'll head over to Mr. Chalmers, see how he's doing.
Okay. Are all three of you going to go in, or just you, Ma, or what? You're all walking over together, are you? Or three of you are walking over, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be okay if all three of us go in. It may be a little socially awkward just for like one woman to like show up at a guy's house in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
So,
This time of year.
I think having the guys there might be a little bit more socially acceptable.
What about before? Sean, can you remind me, if memory serves, didn't he have a big old padlock on the barn?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And I'm super curious about that. I wonder if you two talk to him as like a distraction, and then maybe I can snoop around and see through a crack in the boards or something. I mean, it's a barn; it can't be.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. You'll have to drive though. Remember, it's actually fairly close to the job site. It's not right next in the town, but there's a vehicle you're given use of.
Okay.
So you probably want to drop off the other two down by the. Oh, actually, whatever way you want to do it. Let's just say you can go. Whoever wants to go places can go there. It makes sense. You've got time. So you all pay your bill, get your things together. You head off. Chalmers house, you can see, like I said before, there's a small house out front, which is the more upkept, newer house. There's the older farmhouse, which is a little smaller, and then there's a barn out back and some minor outbuildings. You pull in the driveway, and there you go.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy, if you wanted to like get out beforehand or whatever and just kind of like scoot like, around the
Yeah,
side.
a little bit down the, yeah.
There's a line of trees. You can certainly pull the car over before you get to the property itself and walk down a ditch and up the other side. And you're
Great, I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, we'll go up to the door and give it a knock.
okay. You can smell coffee. You can smell bacon. You can see a fella in there cleaning up his dishes a bit, whatever he does after he eats his breakfast. Dries his hands in a tea towel and walks over and says, "Oh, can I help you?" Seems to recognize you. But
Yeah. Hey there, Mr. Chalmers. Nice to see you in the light of day. We're just come by to check in on you. And see if anything had happened during the night or.
I had an excellent sleep, I'll tell you that much. First time in ages, I thought those dogs stopped barking. Holy. My daughter, from what I gather, my granddaughter had a good sleep as well, and she hasn't been sleeping too well either. Yeah, but I can see from here, though, there's a lot of equipment going back and forth. They're setting up some kind of lights, and a fella came to see me, and he's wants to come see me in an hour or two to talk about expanding the lease to include property on the other side of the creek there. They'll pay for it. You're working with them, aren't you? I recognize you guys.
Yes, we are.
So
you say you're happy for them to start digging in the new area? Then you have no aversions to that.
No, if they want to pay me extra money to dig a few more holes, if they want to fill them back in afterwards, heck, they can flatten that whole place out if they want. I'll turn it into some kind of farmland somehow.
Yeah, I bet these mounds kind of disrupt your farmland.
Actually, the trees are growing all up, and I might have to cut down the trees and yank out the roots and all that. And then you got the scientists telling me I shouldn't do that. If they want to pay me to keep the stuff there so they can dig holes, I'll let them do that for now.
Right. So someone from Apollo came and talked to you then about?
Yep.
Yep.
You can see there's some paperwork over there, and it's the original land lease they signed with him to do the dig. You can see it's just underneath an empty Scotch bottle or rye bottle, whiskey bottle on the table there.
Yeah, we ran into Hope, and she said she slept pretty well too. So all three of you have been having problems sleeping then, huh?
Well, the dogs, they're generally the people during the day. You're doing things, you've got work to do or whatever. But at nighttime, the dogs are constantly barking.
Yeah.
Now they stopped.
Yeah.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, I could hear them all the way in town.
Mm-hmm.
What do you grow out here, if you don't mind me asking? What do you farm out here?
Well, I did grow wheat. My father grew a lot more than I grow. He had grand aspirations of taking on the property on the other side of the river there at one point. He and his father before him, they tried to do some moving the stream. Didn't quite work. They wanted to push the water over this way a bit so they could expand the wheat land over there. It just constant failure. The soil just wasn't great. Right now, I just grow really just what we need for ourselves. Some grain, some hay for the horses, and I don't make a lot of money at it.
So it was your father that that diverted the stream.
Oh, I remember that. Yes, I was probably about 10 or 11 or maybe a little younger. He had some workmen in. He had some money at the time. His father left him, and he bought that land on the far side, and he thought to himself, I'm going to move this river. And he he thought he could irrigate the land. He took a book out of the library on something like that. Thought he was going to do something big and ended up having to sell the land, which was enough. I mean, he died a few years later. It was enough to pay for everything we owed. And I've just been kind of doing what I do, doing what I can.
Right. Yes, I see.
Did you want to cut to Jimmy, or should we finish the conversation? Okay, all right.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good. Okay, by this time, Jimmy, they're settled in. You can see through the window. They're in there talking. They've sat down at the table and they're chatting away now. So, what you gonna do?
Yeah, perfect. Any workers about that I need to worry about?
You can see the work site, but nobody on this property.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. So I'm just going to make my way over to the barn, and I assume it's still locked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then, whatever's easier, whether it be like maybe the doors, I can pull them and get it to open a little bit to peek in, or start making my way around the outside and just look for a gap in the boarding.
The door isn't, they're not tight. You can certainly pull them open enough to look in, like about 4 inches or so.
Okay.
It's light comes in through between the siding and such. You can see that there's some stalls in there. Has Jimmy ever worked on a farm or been around farms at all?
Probably not, I guess. Probably
But
not.
where you live,
I mean, it's
I'd
rural.
say. Do you have Natural World or anything like that, or?
I do have some, yes, 40.
Pick a roll. I'll give you a bonus to it.
51. Bonus?
Close enough.
Okay.
You can smell the smell. You can smell its horses. That's what you can smell. It was in the barn, and just from looking inside, you can see that it's well kept, and seems like the floor is nicely swept. It's almost like someone had just swept it that morning. So looks clean, looks tidy. Little ladder going up to the loft up above.
Okay. I never heard of someone sweeping a barn before, but that's unusual.
Well, the floor between the stalls.
Is it dirt floor or like a wooden or concrete?
Hard packed dirt.
Okay. You mentioned the horses from the woman and the girl, so the horses would be out of the barn right now, I'm assuming.
If you just listen for even just a moment, you can hear breathing inside. So there's at least one more horse in there.
Oh, okay. All right, so nothing unusual. All right, I'll make my way back to the car because I don't really want to interrupt them in the house now.
Okay, easy enough. You can do that. Okay. You guys still talking away?
Yeah. How long has this barn been in your family, Mr. Chalmers, this farm?
Well, my grandfather purchased it. That's all I remember. I know for sure. Okay. I haven't seen the deed. I mean, the deed's around somewhere. I think my daughter keeps track of all that information. It was my dad's, and now it's mine.
While I was thinking of it, have you guys had problems sleeping in this part, on the farm here in the past, or has it just been since we moved all the dogs in at the site?
I haven't remembered my daughter or my granddaughter complaining about sleeping previously. I sleep like a rock usually. I don't remember going to bed half the time.
Yeah. Ma just kind of nods politely. Like she doesn't know what that's all about. And Ma kind of looks out of the corner of her eye and sees Jimmy. Well, Mr. Chalmers, I that's about all I had. Just wanted to check in on you. I'm kind of the outreach person, I guess, for the group. So
Well, it's nice to have a lady come by. That's for sure.
yes, with my womanly charms. But
He doesn't.
well, you let me know if you need anything else. Okay, I'll be the point person. All right.
Absolutely. And if there's, I'm going to sign off on that lease paperwork if you're going back to the dig site. Just let them know, send the fella back. I'm good to have everybody. I'm happy to take their money for as long as they want to give it to me. I could certainly use it. I mean, my granddaughter's precious child, and I certainly want to make sure she has everything she needs. And I do worry about her mother. So, yep, just happy to help out, I guess. They want to pay me to dig holes, they can go right ahead.
Is there like can I see on there, does it kind of outline, or is there like a map of what parts specifically they want to buy from him?
Well, do you actually sort of glance over at it and make it that you can see that you're doing?
I'm gonna kind of take a look at it if I can.
He says, do you want to see what they're offering? You can take a look if you like.
Yeah, I just wanted to see where they're kind of expanding to.
Well, I can only. Yeah, I'll be honest with you people. I can't read.
Okay.
I just know where to sign it. And you do look.
My mama couldn't read either. It's no shame.
His signature is on the other papers, and it's really just a scrawl. And he said, my daddy told me to just make a mark that looked like that. Yeah. And I see the picture. I know the maps, and you can see where the current lease is, like where the dig site is. They're expanding it to the other side of the copse, a good 100 feet past the other mounds. And it's like a rectangular extension of the whole lease that they've leased so far. Term is for a month, and the cost, they've doubled the price.
And so it's expanding to the mound that we saw had been dug into, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So they hadn't previously had that land under their auspices. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Chalmers. And, again, let me know if you need anything else.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime. Feel free to stop by, babe. Yeah. If you want to pop by for a nip in the afternoon, come on down.
Oh, well, I'm visiting the Gossip Society, so I may need a little something to call me afterwards.
Oh,
you know how the
Women's
are.
Institute?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Take everything they tell you with a grain of salt. They're all gossips, like you say.
Yeah, I got
no offense to women, but they certainly have nothing better to do with their lives.
Certainly. Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, and you have a good rest of your day, sir.
Thank you. You as well.
Mm-hmm. So as he shuts the door, I'll just turn and just say, so it looks like they're going to start officially digging into that mound then, huh?
Yes, part of me is maybe wishing that we hadn't mentioned this mound before we ourselves had maybe a chance to look into it more further. I don't know.
Captain, you've never experienced any oddness working for Dominion? You never experienced any times where you kind of had to stop and say, what am I doing at this organization?
Not with Dominion.
Dilemma.
Yeah, well, in Dominion, like I said, it's mostly been like, go to here and bring back this priceless statue, and it has no meaning. It's just a solid gold statue, or whatever the case may be. But when I was in the war, the squadron that I was a part of, definitely that was more. There were times when some of our missions are much more questionable, and so on and so forth. There was definitely a trip I did to Tibet, which was very earth-shattering and made me rethink a lot of things. But at the same time, it convinced me that there's more in this world that we don't fully understand, and there's much higher powers than we are a match for.
Mm. Yeah, I've seen them. I can tell you, I've seen it with my own eyes. I felt it too. Yeah. Well, let's get back into town. I gotta go meet with.
Yep.
The lady.
Yeah.
And so you've dropped. So you're going to take Ma. You can't drive, can you?
Not well.
All right.
That doesn't mean that she doesn't drive.
Doesn't drive.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're going to take them back to town. Dr. Brody and Percy, on to you guys.
All right. So we go into the camp, and we didn't get a name. So if we can find Zephyr, is it Zephyr Montague? Montague. We'll ask him. Well, we'll find him first. Do we see Zephyr around?
You do. When you arrive at the camp, I'm assuming they drop you off on the way
Right.
to going to the Chalmers because it's right nearby. The one thing you notice right away before you find Zephyr is there are vehicles arriving, thump, thump, trucks, carrying light standards, like portable light standards and quick lights, like generators.
Just for working.
You notice
Okay.
they're setting up a bit of a perimeter, as the best you can assume, around the area they've leased.
Okay.
And they're putting up temporary fencing. I guess nowadays we'd call it snow fencing, but it's like just sort of temporary fencing so they can sort of control access somewhat, and some lighting. Now it's not on yet, of course, because it's daytime. And you do see Zephyr standing over by one of the trucks with a clipboard in hand, pointing and not necessarily shouting, but being very direct, telling people what to do with these things.
Okay.
They rather seem to be bolting the stable door after the
Exactly. Yeah.
bolted. So I might be mixing things up a little bit.
Well, let's see if we can find from Mr. Montague the name of the man who said that he saw one of these things. I'll recognize him, of course. I just don't know his name.
It says, "Good morning, gentlemen." Well,
Montague.
good as it can be after last night's activities.
After last night, yeah.
So
we came because we'd like to speak to the man who said that he saw whatever did this. But we don't know what his name is.
Mm-hmm. I understand. It's Dylan Fitzroy. He's in the tent. We do have a medical tent. He's actually in the medical tent with our doctor.
You said his name was Dylan Fitzroy?
Yes.
All right. Well, we won't be too long. We don't want to disturb him too much.
He may disturb you. He's ranting.
That's okay. So we'll come back and talk to you if we need you.
Certainly. Feel free.
Oh.
The site is your site. Feel free.
Oh, come on, Percy. Let's go talk to Mr. Fitzroy. So we go over to the medical tent. And,
That's right.
it means the king's bastard.
Fitzroy?
Fitzroy, yes.
I didn't know
It's
that.
a name that denotes people who were the illegitimate offspring of royalty.
Like Jon Snow.
Similar, Snow, Fitzroy. Yeah. Same appellation. Yeah.
Believe me, he got the better
Same
genes.
thing.
So we go in to talk to him. You know,
He's strapped to a cot, like arms, legs strapped. There's a doctor nearby, tapping on a syringe, getting ready. Give him Says, "Oh, hello, gentlemen. Can I help you?" Our patient.
Yes, we were
It's not
hoping to
much
be able.
better.
We were hoping to be able to speak to him for a bit before you sedate him, if that's what you were going to do.
I'm feeling I have to. He has not slept since last evening. He has not stopped. You see, he's trying to get out of his restraints. He's jabbering away. He's saying much the same as he said last night.
Let me sit and talk to him.
If you wish.
So I pull up a chair. I pull up one for Percy as well. And I try to be gentle. I'm a scientist, but I'll try to be gentle. I know what trauma he's gone through, so I can empathize with him. So I speak softly. Hello, Mr. Fitzroy.
Yes.
And I try to be comforting.
He's fussing and rolling and distraught. You see from his eyes he's so tired, but he just doesn't want to go to sleep.
I don't want to upset you, Mr. Fitzroy, but I want you to know that what you saw, you really did see. There is something. It's probably, I'm a biologist, it's probably some species that we've never encountered before. It probably looks very frightening and very strange, but it's just an animal. Don't fret too much about it.
I'm a scientist too. Not that kind. Ugh.
What, if you were to describe it for me, how would you describe it? You said a lizard.
Yeah. Lizard. That kind of, yes. Skin, smooth. Bumps. The claws, teeth.
Teeth and claws.
And wings.
And
Wings. Well, he doesn't point because his hands
like a dragon.
That's ridiculous. No such thing as dragons.
No, but there might be something that looks like a dragon. That's where the dragon idea came from.
I guess.
Would you say the thing was 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet tall?
He starts to laugh. No, more bigger. 12 feet. 12, big. Like,
did it look like it had like a lizard, 2 legs in the back and 2 arms in the front?
I guess.
Or did it have multiple legs?
Like a lizard. It didn't. Just two.
Did it have a tail? Long tail?
I didn't really see it. It was coming at me.
I see. Did you see that it had eyes?
Oh, the eyes. Brilliant yellow, shining in the light.
Really? And it seemed to be attacking the dogs, not feasting on them, perhaps? Or
no.
Like it was eating them, just killing them.
It swept down. There's one beside me. It knocked me aside. Didn't attack me at all. Just knocked me aside. I thought it was attacking me, so I screamed. Just knocked me to the ground. And when I looked, Trixie was gone.
Did the creature make any sort of noise, Mr. Fitzroy?
It was silent until it flew into the sky. It came at me silent, no noise at all, nothing. That's what made it so frightening. This thing was there, knocked me down, bundled me over, tore Trixie's leash and collar and chain right off the post, up into the sky. And as it flew into the sky, there's this horrid screech, and I covered my ears and I buried my face into the sand. I thought it was coming back for me, and then I heard the thud.
Oh dear.
No.
How awful.
We're going to find this thing, whatever it is.
I don't know if we want to find this thing.
Well, we'll be prepared for it this time. You say it flew. It had wings, obviously. Would you say they were like a bird's wings with feathers, or were they like a bat's wings with skin?
Yes, like a bat. A bat, exactly. Exactly. I've seen them when we were doing work down south, when we were doing work in the Amazons. I did see this. They called it like a fruit bat, Those
Yes,
big,
there's very
giant.
large fruit bats. Yes. Did it? What color was it?
It was nice. The moonlight was shining off of it. It was slick, disgusting,
Slick.
bumpy in places.
And its claws. Its claws were like a bird's.
They were the size of your forearm. It was just horrible.
What's your name is Dylan Fitzroy.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzroy, if we can identify this animal, I think that we will scientifically attach your name to it, whatever it is.
It's a way to be remembered, I guess.
Well, don't fret. You're okay. You were traumatized. You know very well that people who are traumatized, it takes a while, but you will sleep again. You'll be okay.
I hope so. I don't want to remember this.
You are yourself an archaeologist, yes?
Yes.
Have you found anything interesting in the dig site?
Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
That's kind of unusual, isn't it? You should be finding the bones of American Indians, and
you would think, but it doesn't. It's happened in other places we've gone. It's hit or miss. You have to be here a lot longer than a week to find things sometimes.
Well, you seem to have calmed down a little bit. I think that we don't have any other, unless Percy, do you have any questions for him?
No. I think you've very much covered everything. I think, except you haven't perhaps discovered any tracks in the days or weeks prior to seeing this thing, have you?
Tracks?
Yes.
Like the creature?
Well, you said dogs were we heard that dogs were disappearing before this.
Yes. And the doctor speaks up. The doctor says, I might know a little more about that. Says, somebody took my scalpels. Somebody took my scalpels. And I'll tell you, those ropes were cut, the dogs were tied up with, and those ropes were cut clean through.
On last night? Last night?
No,
or on the
previous dogs that disappeared. I personally think somebody on this site stole those dogs and sold them. Probably down the road to the miners. I think the miners stole those dogs and sold them to the miners down the road.
But surely they wouldn't bother to use something as delicate as a scalpel. They could have just used a knife or a...
I just know that I had a series of scalpels that I had just purchased for this trip. The company expensed them, and now I had to order a second set in case I had to do some kind of emergency medical work on these people here. And my little case, leather case, locked, a latch shut with a tie around it, completely gone. Brand new scalpels.
And can you think of when the last time was you saw this?
That very day. The day that the dog started disappearing. I know it because I came in, I went to get one because one of the men had a massive piece of wood jammed into his hand. He had slipped on a shovel and the shovel broke. Oof. The wood was jammed in his hand. I came to get a scalpel to extricate that piece of wood, and they were gone. They were right in the middle of my desk where I left them, and it was shortly after that that people started noticing the dogs were missing and the ropes were cut clean through.
I'm very curious. And you say you suspect the miners?
I think personally some of the laborers we have working for us, the new ones perhaps, I think they stole the dogs and sold them down the road to the mine.
Oh, I see.
I see.
Understand, yes.
Percy, do you think that the The roadsman was here at that time, the tramp.
Well, it's difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, all we know of him is that he was seen buying something in the local store, and he could have been in the area for quite some time. Tell me, Doctor, have you seen there was talk in the nearby town of a vagrant who passed through here?
Oh, yes.
Did you encounter him?
I did not encounter the gentleman. However, we noticed that we had a visitor. Not necessarily someone on our camp, but someone who was watching us from a distance. And
when was this?
This was a week or so, about a week ago, perhaps, maybe a little less than a week, perhaps 4 days ago.
I see. And whereabouts did you see this person?
I personally witnessed the person standing across the little creek there in the copse of trees.
In the copse of trees?
They had a spyglass. They were watching our operations. They saw me looking at them. I know that to be sure, because as the spyglass scanned across, I could see the glint of it. It was focused right on me. Closed up the spyglass, put it in a little latch, a saddlebag that he was carrying, and he just walked off into the brush.
Was he close enough for you to get an idea of what he looked like?
He was wearing a lot of clothing, like a lot of layers of clothing, almost as if he was trying to blend into his surroundings, like a hunter. And it was definitely a man. You can tell from his gait. It was definitely a man, probably my height, 5'7", 5'6", 5'8". Average in size, rather fit the way he moved through those woods. It just, but beyond that, I couldn't make out any more.
Somebody spying on you. Now, was this before or after the vagrant was here? Could it have been the vagrant?
I believe so. We've heard of the vagrant in town wandering around, and he's, from my impression, it's the only person that we've seen that we haven't seen them in the town before.
Well, our suspicions have been all along that the vagrant might in fact be somebody who came here knowing what you all were up to and had his own designs on what he was going to do. We don't know any of that for sure, though.
Interesting. I don't like being watched.
Nobody does. Who does? Now, we've also been told that the little girl's been hanging around watching the work.
Yes.
Seen her?
Yes, we have seen her. In fact, she stopped by this morning. She's been usually staying away. The dogs seem quite agitated, as you know, before they all were killed. She didn't approach. She seemed to be, well, I mean, that's what the dogs are there for, is to keep people away. And she wouldn't get too close, but she certainly was watching us. And a few of us walked out to the roadway and had a little talk with her, explaining to her what we were doing, because, children need to know what's happening around them. And we told her it was a dangerous place to be, and she wandered off again.
You say she was here this morning?
Yes.
What time would you say?
Oh, this was fairly early, right after the sun was up. She came by. She walked right into the camp, and she was looking around, and she talked to a few people, and Mr. Montague said to her, "It's very dangerous right now, and she really shouldn't be wandering around." And we know she's the Chalmers girl, and she was identified before because we wondered who else would be this close to the dig site. We did tell her that if she wanted to come back with her father this evening or next, we would give them a full tour, as it is their property, and they can see what we're up to and give her a little bit of education.
Interesting. Well, I can't think of anything else. You, Percy? I don't want to keep you from your doctoring.
Have
I
you
think
had
he's a bit calmer than he was.
I'm still going to knock him out because he's driving me crazy.
have there been many injuries during this dig?
Nothing out of the ordinary.
Oh,
A few people have been nipped by the dogs in their agitated state. They weren't necessarily they didn't listen to their handlers as much as normal, but generally nothing out of the ordinary. There was a snake bite, but it was a non-venomous water snake.
Ah. Well, I can't think of anything more.
I think that we're dealing with something unexpected in this case. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, anytime, gentlemen. Now, if you mind me, I'm going to put this young gentleman to sleep.
So I put my hand on Percy's shoulder and we walk out the tent. And I say, so I don't think that it's what I think that it is. I said I did a sketch of what I remembered, and I didn't see any point in showing it to him because what he described didn't look anything like that.
Oh dear, no, it's you didn't look like.
He was describing some sort of it almost sounded like a dragon.
It did rather. You know, on a slightly different note, an idea or a suggestion has just popped into my head. As you may recall from breakfast, both Captain Montgomery and myself received notes from this B. Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, Dr. Brodie, could it be that our mysterious vagrant and this mysterious Mr. Sterling are one and the same?
That's definitely possible. He's watching them.
He's watching them, and he seems to be an unknown third party. And we have also received letters from an unknown third party who seems to be quietly watching the goings on in the area.
I'm wondering if it's possible to communicate back, find some way to contact this Mr. Sterling. A couple of other things that I just thought of. One is perhaps we should wander around a bit, the places where the dogs were. I realized that there was a lot of commotion last night, but perhaps we can find a footprint still in the dirt of this creature somewhere about.
You know, it's a great shame that none of us knows those tramps' signs that Mr. Washburn mentioned to me, or we could leave him some sort of message.
That's true. If he is in fact a tramp.
Well, he's at least pretending to be one, so perhaps he might.
The other thing, this kind of bothers me a little bit, but children tend, in my opinion, to be a little bit more cautious than their parents. Children cling to their parents. They're afraid of things. Now, of course, there's always a precocious child who is not afraid of anything. However, we've been told that that Hope and April do not like the dogs, and they avoided this area because of the dogs. If the dogs were all killed last night, how did the little girl know that it was safe to come to the camp? Wouldn't she have expected dogs in the camp?
Well, I'm led to believe that that one could hear the barking of the dogs for quite some distance.
I would put that two and two together. But what a little kid would know there were dogs in that camp, and they just wouldn't go there. But she was here before going to school, before before they really got
it-
going.
It is their farm, so you'd
It's
expect.
true. It might be nothing.
I would imagine that her parents may have mentioned the fact over breakfast that the dogs were no longer barking.
Possible. I don't know what it is. This is all connected somehow. Or maybe not at all. Maybe this dragon. Wait a second. We had guessed something about the shape of the artifact, that the previous artifact was a star, and it was Star City. Here we have mounds, and we've heard snakes mentioned. And now we have a walking, flying lizard with yellow eyes. It's got to have something to do with that artifact, wherever the artifact is. There's so much that we don't know yet. So perhaps we should just stop speculating and go find the car.
Okay.
We got to walk over towards the farm.
And with that, the car comes back. Very
Is Ma
timely.
driving?
No, Ma has been dropped off back at this town
Okay.
because she has an appointment at 11:30 very shortly, and Captain Montgomery and Jimmy have come back to go for a little flight because the aircraft is parked nearby.
So they pick us up?
Well, they're actually arriving to get in their aircraft because the aircraft is in
Oh.
the same general vicinity to take flight.
Oh, okay.
Well, I shall halloo them. Halloo!
So you're really going to go up in that thing?
Yes, of course.
If man were meant to fly, he'd have a balloon.
Agree to disagree.
I understand that the hot air keeps you up, but that thing,
No, there's nothing safer than the old Raven.
that's witchcraft over there. That keeps you up.
I'd be prepared to wager with you, Captain, that my armchair at home is considerably safer and a good deal more comfortable.
I think that we'll sit in a couple of those armchairs and watch you guys up there.
Well, what do you say, Jimmy? You ready to go up?
Yes, please.
All right, so we get up in the plane, get it started and stuff, and
Well, I'll skip quickly to Ma. Ma, you're back at the town. You've got about half an hour until your meeting. You know where you're going, so I'll just get back to you in a few minutes, so you can just prepare yourself for whatever you're going to do at the meeting. You know they're expecting you, so don't eat because they've got food and stuff. Okay, so you guys, you're up in the aircraft. It takes off no problem whatsoever. You're a professional pilot. You are up. You are in the air.
all right. So I was having to yell over the motor and so on and so forth. You have a look on the right side of the plane, and I'll try and keep an eye on the left and see if we can see any signs of this tramp. And we start heading from obviously where we take off, more towards I guess the caves that were mentioned.
Caves were mentioned. We were also told he headed north, I believe. I was trying to think, Sean, did they tell us where he entered the woods? I feel like I know that already.
If you think of the camp, like the camp, it's here. The cops is here. The part they were excavating was here. He just sort of wandered off that way, away from the main camp, towards the adjacent property on the other side of the water. Beyond that, they didn't tell you where that he went. He just wandered off out of sight. But you, just for your perspective, you do know that the creature, when you saw it the other night, was flying from the general direction of the camp from where you were in the city to the north.
To the north, that's right.
So do you want to head? Do you want to head that way then, Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, at some point, I mean, we do know he's on foot, so he can't be that far away, especially if he's lurking around the dig site. But yeah, let's see if we can find a campsite of some sort, maybe.
Cool.
Okay. Well, let's go the first half hour. I don't really know off the top of my head how much fuel one of those aircraft, how long you can fly for, but I'm assuming it's more than half an hour. So, yeah, I'm sure you could fly across the English Channel. So you're flying in a grid pattern, I'm assuming, or is it just east, west, north, south?
Probably a grid pattern to cover the ground and stuff.
Maybe
Yeah.
spiral.
Ever increasing spiral. Just constantly banking, making yourselves unwell. Okay, so we'll just assume you're going back and forth. So the first half hour, do a spot hidden, both of you.
Okay.
Nope. I'm looking for the machine.
Hang on. I got a 54. I passed 54 out of 60.
Okay. I'm going to assume you're going to keep going even after. I'll tell you. I'm going to give you three chances. Could you do 2 more spot hiddens each?
Sorry, what are we rolling?
Another spot hidden.
Okay, another one. Okay.
Apparently, I don't like flying.
I got a 10 out of 60.
Excellent. And do 1 more each. There's a number of things you can see. I'm just sort of
34 out of 60.
Okay. All right. As you do notice as you're flying around, there's lots of areas that are old farms. There are lots of derelict barns. There are some foundations of older buildings that have fallen to disrepair or burned to the ground in some cases. You do spot now this is not a place where you can land your aircraft, but by a small marsh to the north and to the west, on the other side of that roadway you drove on the night before, you do notice there is a shed, and it's an old shed that's connected to an old farm that the barn and the house are just gone, fallen into disrepair. But this it's more of a small barn itself. Definitely, there appears to be foot traffic in the grass leading to that shed. The other things you did notice is farther north along the roadway, quite a ways, you notice something that is vaguely, say, 10 feet by 8 feet that appears to be covered by a tarpaulin and sticks and branches and such.
Okay.
The last thing that you did notice was you do actually see way off. You don't quite go that far, but in the distance, you can see where the mine is that they talked about, which is way down, quite far away. You can see it from the air, though. But there's some kind of operation going on with smoke and industrial operations. Yeah. And somewhere near that, you can see it's actually up against the mountainous area, like rocky areas. It's not mountainous, not it's Ohio, but certainly a rocky area of a high hills, and it's partially into the hill there.
Yeah.
So those are the things you pick up that look at what you determine to be promising.
So I obviously point all of these things out to Jimmy.
Who's
but
not seeing anything? Huh?
I make special note of. I say, did you notice the tarp down there? From memory, a tarp was one of the things that the tramp bought. I think I remember Ma telling us of some of the things that he bought from the shop. Was he bought a tarp and sticks and stuff like that. So I feel like there's a few spots now we could definitely once we're back on the ground go and check out. So maybe go and scout out this hut that we potentially could be where he's kipping up, and potentially go and check out this the tarp and see what's under the tarp.
Yeah, definitely. Sean, there was talk of like caves along the river. Did we see anything like that?
Didn't see anything like that.
Okay.
Is
Actually,
it
when you're
possible
up
for us?
Oops. I was going to say, actually, when you're up there, the river, from what you can see, the river's fairly low. There doesn't seem to be anywhere where you could see caves to be. This is why you're a bit confused, that it isn't a wide enough or deep enough of a valley that the river's in where caves could actually... It just seems odd that they would say that. It's more, if they're caves, you're thinking to yourself, not being geologists, they must be pretty small.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
I was going to say maybe we do a bit more of a flight out that way to see if we can find some caves, but it's up to you. Do we go down and maybe look into these things now, or do we fly on a bit further and see if we can see anything else?
How are we doing on fuel?
That's an hour and a half's worth of flying.
Yeah, I think we've maybe got another 40 minutes of fuel. So we could do a bit more flying, maybe not heaps.
Okay.
Just, okay, you're going to fly a bit more? Okay. Well, don't worry, Mom.
Yep.
We'll rewind time and go to you. Bit more flying. Generally, you're not seeing anything out of the ordinary that stands in your mind after seeing it.
Yeah.
It's like you've seen generally what some things of interest. Nothing else seems to stand out.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, I just fly us back to camp.
Can we do a loop?
I let Jimmy fly a little bit, like, and take controls for a few minutes.
For the landing?
No, for the loop.
For the loop. Just
No,
that.
definitely not for the landing.
You do that enough, Jimmy, you get a little bit of like a 5% aircraft.
I don't think airplanes back then could have done this kind of a loop. They could have done barrel rolls.
I think they could dive and maybe, but I don't know.
You'd need a lot of strength. You'd probably stall if you tried to go straight up.
Mm-hmm. Hard to say. All right, so you're flying back. I'll just assume you're getting back to the landing spot. So I will go to Ma now. Ma, you can hear the aircraft flying around as taking off as you get back to the town. You get yourself ready. Ladies' auxiliaries across the road.
All right, I will walk over, probably not appropriately dressed, but Ma doesn't really know what to dress for in the circumstances, but she shines her shoes. She spits on her shoes before she comes in. So that's about the extent of her cleansing
primping.
Yeah. So yeah, she'll just kind of walk over.
Yeah. They're waiting for you at the door. The ladies greet you. There's about 12 or 13, 14 old ladies, various ages ranging from, the ever decrepit 55-year-old to the ancient 75-year-old. Nobody lives that long. So they're waiting for you. They're all reek of cologne, something you're not quite used to. So they're all perfumed, and you can see they've got tea sets out. They have doilies under all the place, like under all the cups and saucers. They have treats and cakes, and they invite you in. They have little cucumber sandwiches or whatever they have back then. So they're ready for it. They say, "Oh, please get yourself a drink. Get yourself some refreshments and join us in the parlor." They're all in there. They say they chat you. They introduce you around to all the other ladies. You don't know their names unless you really want me to make up 14 names. Martha, Mabel.
Right.
So they get after about half an hour of networking. They say, "Oh, please, could you?" They please have a seat up front here. We're going to introduce you. They all sit. They introduce you as an outdoors woman, a strong example of strong, firm womanship from Canada, the wild country. And so they say, "Please come up and tell us what you're doing in town. Tell us some of your exploits and a bit about yourself." won't make
Well, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, she'll, introduce herself, but her, she'll. I'm assuming she'll just be pretty blunt and say she was raised in a whorehouse and like just being really like totally inappropriate for the audience and ruffle some feathers. But she'll get to the meat of the matter and just say, well, ladies, I just really I want to hear from you. I want to know a little bit about, as you know, I'm with the Archeological Dig and with all the gentlemen folks up there. We're doing some excavation on the old Indian mounds. What all do you know about that property out there? Some of you have been here a long time, and you all are the experts. What do you know about the Chalmers property?
Well, one lady, one of the older of the ladies, she says that family, they have had some hard times in recent times. At one time, she looks around, they're like, well, I might as well say it. They were very prosperous at one time. In fact, the father was the mayor for one short period of time years ago, many years ago.
Who is he Mr. Chalmers' father was?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And another lady just sort of pipes up and says, well, hasn't every man in this town been the mayor at one point for a year? And they all snicker and, well, they all have to take their turn bossing us around. So they talk about how the father, the previous, like not the current Mr. Chalmers, the previous one, had a bit of rough time with money after a while, had some bad investments, had purchased, similar to what you heard earlier, had purchased land on the far side with aspirations to have this giant industrial farm for corn and wheat and all kinds of things, that something like you would see in a major metropolis, a rural metropolis of sorts. But sort of things just went wrong, made some bad decisions, lost some money, had some financial issues, and eventually had to sell that property. Shortly thereafter, like Mr. Chalmers already said to you, the father died, left the money. They had some rough issues with family members dying, not in serious circumstances, but just because they weren't really prepared for living in the wild, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So just they've had a bit of a rough time living here, but they stay. And the other one says, well, they stay, they're still having a rough time. Shh, there's a lot of hushing in that. But they're very nice people, and Hope is such a wonderful person.
Yeah, I've met Hope. She's real nice. And April, she's getting along okay. Just having her mom since Dad's not around.
Yes, very nice. And April's a wonderful girl, very wide-eyed, very very interested in things happening all around her all the time. Mm-hmm. We all like to think we're all her grandmother. We all like to keep an eye on her. Very delicate child.
Yeah, she's been coming around the dig site a bit. Do any of the other kids come around at all, or pretty much just her?
Well, I mean, they live outside of the village,
mm-hmm.
the town. So she goes to school with the other kids. There's no... My grandson, he certainly thinks she's a little odd, but she likes to do the boy thing. She likes to play the baseball, and they like to do. She likes to get rough and dirty with the boys, and the teacher's often taking her aside and cleaning up her scraped knees and telling her to go play with the girls. But generally, smart little girl. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Other kids do play with her, though.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's good to hear. I know it's tough growing up as a tomboy. Is there any family in town that doesn't really get along well with anyone else, or anyone that you'd say just doesn't regularly attend church, or doesn't come to the late meetings? Anyone like that?
We've grown over time, and we have new people moving in once in a while. I wouldn't say we have. There's no animosity between people in this town. We all seem to get along quite well. Someone said, well, there's people that pass through and they seem to come and then leave. Well, that's normal for a small town like this. But no, everyone seems to get along well here. There's no, and then someone says, well, well, yes. And it just under hushed tones, the lady says, well, we can speak about this after the meeting. How's that?
Oh, okay. Sure. I'm just trying to get the family straight. So, because the Chalmers are on the Archeological Dig site, I'm kind of curious about this, and you ladies would know this. Who was Hope's mother?
Oh, the one lady says, I have something for you. She says, this is the lady you were speaking to the other day, remember?
At the genealogical, yeah.
Yes.
That is what we wanted. Okay.
It's handwritten. It's calligraphy, handwritten, very. But you do notice that those three. I'm pointing with my fingers. Doesn't help you. These three areas, something was written there, and it's been smudged, so you can't read it. And intentionally.
Did you mark out who April's dad was?
Let's speak about this after the meeting.
Right. Okay. And she kind of winks, because she remembers your conversation from the other day where they had some explanation about that. I see. Okay. Good. Well, that's perfect. Yeah, I was just a little curious about that, and I knew that you ladies wouldn't disappoint with letting me know that. What else? Do you any other any other problems around town that you guys have noticed, or you ladies have noticed over the past, I'd say 2 years, 3 years? Problems. I don't know if you heard that screeching last night. Did you guys get bad owls around these parts, or do you know what that was?
No, I did. One lady speaks up, and then another. Yes, I did hear something, but after I've had my brandy, I tend to sleep right through everything. Now, yeah, only a bit. It's medicinal. I have it prescribed. But after I had 3 or 4. I was having a hard time sleeping. I did wake up and I heard this strange noise, and the window was open because it was so warm. But I just assumed it was owls.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Have you all heard what happened out at the dig site yet?
No.
Well, sorry to say, but all of the dogs were killed. Yeah, quite brutally. What
was it? A bear?
Could be, but it was right around the same time that we heard all that screeching. So I didn't know if anything like that had ever happened. Have any of the dogs around town? Did anything happen to any of the dogs around town last night?
I haven't heard of anything.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No. I haven't. Have you? And they all talk around. No, they haven't. But now they're very afraid. They want to keep their poor dogs in the house.
Yeah, I would keep your dogs inside, ladies, at least for the next while until we figure out what happened to them. But yeah, something real strange is going on over there. So, one other thing, she's kind of looking through her notes. We had heard about a Mary Chalmers. Does anyone know who she might be?
Mary Chalmers. Do you know of a Mary Chalmers? And they all talk around. No.
Because there's a gravestone, I believe, with that name on it.
Mary Chalmers. Where is this gravestone you found?
I don't know. I'm guessing what had happened was that I just kind of took questions from the rest of them, and so I'm just kind of relaying that back.
Yeah, I know.
So no, Mary Chalmers.
You had given us 3 names. So
What do you remember the other names?
Did I write that down?
yeah, Mary,
Ezekiel, and no.
Amelia,
Jonathan,
Hope,
right?
and Mary.
One speaks up and she says, wait a moment. And she runs off to her records book.
And we didn't see one for Ezekiel or Faith.
She says, oh, Mary, that Mr. Martin's wife's middle name was Mary.
Could you share that genealogy, the tree again?
Oh yeah, sorry, I gotta go to. I'm gonna put this. I'll put this up for.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just trying to keep all these names straight. Okay, so Mr. Martin, is that Faith Martin's father, or?
Andrew, Hope is the lady who runs the store.
Yeah.
April's the little girl.
Right.
Andrew is the father.
Right.
Faith is his late wife.
So you said Mr. Martin, though. His wife's middle name was Mary?
Faith's middle name was Mary, the lady says.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'll try and copy down the Chalmers family tree as much as I can.
They give you a copy. They give you a hard copy. Yes.
All right. Well, ladies, thank you so much. This was very edifying, and I hope you got a glimpse into the life of a wild woman up north.
Well, they're happy with the tales you told them, and they say, please, they have a little basket. Take all the sandwiches you want. Take all the food. You look like you could use some good food.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And
I'm sure those men you hang around with eat beans and steak and stuff all the time.
They could use a real meal. Thank you. A home cooked meal.
All right.
Thank you.
So it took you a while. This is probably around about 3:00 now that you're out of this, because they told stories of the town. They told you history of the town that was unimportant and uninteresting to you, and you told stories that you wanted to tell as well. So all in all, it took a number of hours. So you're done, and by this time, the air crew have landed and have got themselves together again.
And she wanted to pull me aside, though, right?
Yes. She wants to tell you that. She says, we don't like to talk about any discomfort in this town.
Yeah.
We're such a small town. We rely upon the goodwill of Chilkuth. When times are tough, they send us assistance in terms of asking our people to come work for them. And that we're doing well now. We were failing for a while because we're a rural town and the times they are as they are. But we don't want them to feel that we're some kind of a Wild West town with troubles and such. But do understand that the Washburns and the Chalmers, they do not speak. And it is because of the parentage of the young lady.
Right.
And we have approached both sides to try to reconcile them, and they seem uninterested in such. It's mainly the fathers.
So that's the names that were blurred out was the mayor.
Yes. Young Betty there filled them in, and I smudged the ink myself because I can't be releasing that information officially.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, and I'm sure they appreciate the discretion. So Thank you.
All right. So you guys have landed your aircraft. What's everybody doing? The four of you are at the dig site right now.
So I walk over to Brody and Percy and say, well, we saw a few things that I think we should potentially go and have a look at. There's a hut northwest way that looks like the grass around it has definitely been downtrodden enough, like a makeshift walkway to this hut. So potentially someone's there. So we could sneak up on it and try and see if we can see any form of life or go and check, whatever. But we also saw quite a large tarp being held down by sticks. And I do seem to remember young Hope telling us that one of the things the tramp bought was a large tarp and some sticks. Camping equipment.
Well, our adventure continues, it would seem. And that's the direction that the flying dragon headed.
Yes. Do you think we should go pick up Ma and then head out that way, or?
Oh, I think so. I think she's probably had her ears filled with nonsense from the old ladies. In fact, I could see her storming down the street now.
Yes. Well, you do have to drive back to the town to get her because. So I'll assume you get in the car. All of you head back to town to get Ma. Ma, you're coming out of the meeting. You're walking over to the hotel and you see the vehicle coming towards you. And just as you all meet, you hear behind you the sound of hoofs. Because it's after 3 o'clock now. It's close to 3:30 in the afternoon. And you see hoofs. Brr, 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 and Hope goes zooming past you. Not Hope, which is the mother. Which is the mother? Is it Hope? It's Hope.
Yeah.
Hope, yes. Hope is zooming past you on a horse. Like in her work clothing. She hasn't even changed out of her work clothing. And she's just going as fast as possible. And she's heading towards her home. Back towards her home.
Uh-oh. What's happened? Ma, get in.
Wonder what's going. Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's follow her.
Yeah. What's that smell? You smell like a French whorehouse.
Doilies and crumpets.
I smell sandwiches. I smell cucumber sandwiches.
Oh, yeah. Dig in. And throws the basket in.
Knuckle.
There's some fine things in life that we can enjoy before we're all eaten by monsters.
So
I've got some custard creams.
You did in your pocket.
They're a little bit broken up and crumbly, but I'm sure they're perfectly edible.
So we run.
So
down.
yeah, I'm assuming I'm driving, and we follow off after Hope.
And you do notice another vehicle has actually started following as well, and has a few gentlemen in it from the gas station down the way, and they're following her as well. And one of them is passing you, yelling out to her, Ms. Chalmers, just get in the vehicle. It's faster. And she doesn't listen. She keeps riding her horse. And then you do actually hear another vehicle coming. And
can we yell to that? Back. Can we yell to that one vehicle? What's wrong? What's wrong?
Yeah, you can absolutely, because they're trying to pass. But
right.
The one fella's leaning out the passenger side. He says, "Follow Hope. Her daughter's gone missing."
One person we wanted to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Who did we tell that we saw Hope wandering around the dig?
April. Yeah.
April.
Yeah.
The doctor.
So you're heading the little caravan of cars and the one horse are heading that way towards the Chalmers house, and you notice she goes right to the house. It's not horribly far away. She goes right to the house, and Mr. Mr. Chalmers, her father, is out at the end of the road, and he's frantic. He's frantic, and he says, and you can see another vehicle is there, and it's the doctor from the dig site, and he's been called over. Like, he's out of the vehicle, and you can see April is actually there at the house, and her horse is not with her, and her father's picking her up and carrying her over to the house, and the doctor's following, and so everybody's rushing over there. And there's another gentleman there who's obviously someone who's helping Mr. Chalmers with whatever he's doing. And he says, the boy, the teacher's son, he's missing. We got to find him. He was with April. They took a path out from the back of the school. They were taking a path through the woods to come home. And now April says they were attacked by a bear. So he's saying, we got to rush out and try to find the boy.
So there's a missing boy. April's okay, but she's upset and scared. All right.
I mean, I kind of want to talk to her, but I'll go with you guys if you need more eyes to help you find him. What do you think?
Well, you're probably the best shot.
Well, I guess I'll stay behind and just kind of talk to April, I guess.
All right.
You guys want to go run?
I'm happy to go look for the boy.
Do we have
Okay.
weapons?
Yeah, you have rifles and shotguns, that sort of
All
thing. And Corey, who's been very silent this
Yeah.
episode, he's a tracker as well, so he's going to go help look.
He puts his ear on the ground.
He's
Lot
been
of
quietly pacing around.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
So you're all directed to go in two directions. They just split up, like one head down the path. Apparently, when they leave the school's on the other side of the town rather. There is actually a path that April's well known for coming when she doesn't want to wait for her mother to get off work. She rides her horse back, but the teacher's son rides with her, and he's about 50, a little older. Rides her back, stops for a little sandwich and a drink of water at the Chalmers home, and then rides back to his mother's house or his parents' house for when the school day's over.
So we're looking for fresh horse tracks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're suggesting that they're going to go from both directions. She says a bear attacked them. That's all you got. A bear came after their horses and them.
Okay.
So
we start down the path in the one direction.
it's not very hard to find your way because the path is actually wide enough vehicles can drive on it. And some of the people have whipped back to the town to come up the other way. And it's within 15 minutes, you find April's horse on its side, slashed by a bear, or something, you assume it's a bear. Claw marks on its side. The horse is not dead, but injured on the side of the road. You do see another horse. This one is actually dead. And the boy is not with the horse.
Okay.
But so Corey and the others and Ma, you use your tracking abilities, and it's not very hard to find that there is actually a trail. And within minutes, you find the boy dead inside the woods, just the edge of the woods.
Did you say one of the horses was alive still?
Yes, April's horse was alive, but injured.
I want to be able to examine each of these things as we come.
Okay.
To
Could I do first aid on April's horse, I guess?
Sure. Absolutely. You can do that.
Yeah, I want to save the horse.
Okay.
I got a 19 out of 40, so horse is okay.
You can bandage it up. The horse gets up and goes, woof, back to adventuring. You can bandage that. You can stop the bleeding and assist in the best you can as a non-veterinarian.
Yeah.
Okay, you're working on that. What were you doing, Dr. Brody? Sorry.
I wanted to examine them as we came to them and see what my assessment. Does it look like a bear did this, or does it look like something worse?
You have quite strong natural history, as I remember it. Do you not?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it resembles a brown bear, like the larger of the two. Definitely looks like
evidence. There's probably bits of hair and stuff that we can find. Okay. Yeah,
it certainly doesn't look like anything reptilian or anything like that. Definitely looks like a bear attack.
Yeah, brown bear, I would say. All right. Well, let's find this. We find the kid, though, huh?
Yes. He's been mauled by the bear. Did not survive it. Your initial assessment, as well as the doctor's not with you. Your initial assessment is it looks like he died falling from the horse. It looks like his neck was broken before he was mauled. But he was hauled off into the woods, and possibly, wild guess, the sounds of the vehicles coming might have frightened the bear off.
Well, let's see if we can find this. I don't know if people in the town want to find this bear and kill it.
No, they know about the bears. They say it's absolutely an issue, especially in the springs when they wake up and they're hungry. So, I mean, they know of the bears. It's not always one bear, and it's been an issue for a number of years here.
I would just think that once it's got the taste of human flesh, you'd want to kill it so that it doesn't try this again. Teach it a lesson.
Yep.
Oh my God, how horrible. Should we do sanity checks?
Yes.
Any bear checks?
Yes. It's freshly moist. Not moist, but I mean it's a damp part of the soil. It's almost marshy in this area around the trees.
I got a 2. I'm a heartless fucker.
I've got a 63. I'm moved but stable.
I got a 66. I'm okay. Just
Anybody who fails takes 1. You've seen worse. It's horrific, but
Child.
yes.
Oh, what a horrible, horrible tragedy. Now there's going to be a big to-do in the town about the child getting killed. And
Well, I'll assume that, I mean, the investigations are going on. Where are you going to head after this? I mean, there's a lot of town folk who are showing up now, and the family's crying and upset and such.
well,
I'm
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna walk the horse back to the Chalmers. Because let April know that I saved a horse.
I'll go back too and see if I can talk to April. I guess next time.
Well, you can all certainly, if that's where you're heading, head back to the Chalmers. The doctor is checking over April. She's only slightly bruised from being knocked from the horse. So she landed in a bush. She got scratched up a bit, but not attacked. She's crying. The boy was her best friend, her only real friend, she says. And the boy's been killed by the horrible bear, and she hates bears, absolutely hates bears, terrified of, just every time she rides a horse, she wants to ride with the boy because they've heard noises in the woods before, and her mother has told her always to ride on the road, not in the path. But the boy and her thought it would be safe because it was a nice sunny day, and she's very upset.
God, I'm so
How hard
sorry.
is that? So you're going to talk to April. After you talk to April, I think that we should all go take a look at that. The guy saw a hut or something out there. There's something out in the woods. We need to go investigate. To the north? To the north.
Roadway that goes past the Chalmers quite far north. It is, not quite far, but I mean, it's a ways north. It's a drive. You go past the Chalmers. It's where you've traveled the night when you were trying to follow whatever you saw in the sky. It's easy enough after you. It's later on in the day, but it's certainly not dark yet. So it's closer to dinner time. You're traveling up the road, and it is slightly off the road. There is a bit of a roadway ends, and then it's an old roadway, and then there's as described what looks like a slightly traveled path leading to an old shed beside a demolished farmhouse and barn.
Shall we sneak up to it?
Yeah, see if we can see any signs of life or something going on like that. Yeah.
You can sneak up to it, not a problem. You get to the door. There is actually a functioning door on a hinge. Whoever's first to the door, could you do a spot hidden?
Okay, so it's me. 20. That's a good one. Is that better than half?
You notice
better than half.
Okay. You notice when you go to open the door that one of the hinges has been recently repaired with shiny new screws.
Somebody's definitely out here. Somebody who knows door repair. Is the door locked?
Can I do a listen roll to see if I can hear anyone inside?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
He's listening.
I thought it all froze up again because none of us were moving until I saw Troy blink.
Hard. I hear something.
I got 20 on 20, so I just passed.
You don't hear anything out of the ordinary. Wind, bushes.
Okay. It doesn't sound like anyone's in there.
Is there a lock or anything, or can we just open the door?
It's just a door handle. I mean, there's like an old skeleton key kind of lock hole, but
all right. So we just open the door and look inside.
It's a small shed. It looks like a potting shed kind of thing. There's nobody in there, but the floor is. You notice there's no dust on the floor. Like someone's been moving around in there, and there is the smell of perhaps coffee. Yes, coffee, and it's almost like things have been moved. There's areas on dusty surfaces where it's like things have been moved out of there. Like there was things being stored on some shelves and things.
You think he was camping here and then?
It's like someone is bugged out and left.
Oh. Where'd you see the tarp? Let's head over there and see if we can.
I'll give you that before we end for the night.
Okay.
It's a little ways north again. It's a bit of a drive, another half mile or so, but you get up to it and there's like off of the roadway, the road drops a bit and you see grasses have been parted. There's an object under a tarp. A quick look at it makes you think this looks like a vehicle. And when you lift up the edge of the tarp, yes, there's a brand new shiny car underneath, black sedan, and there's some boxes piled up around it that had some food supplies in it, and like canned goods and such. And yeah, that's generally it.
It's like our tramp wasn't much of a tramp.
Not with a car like this.
The keys are not in it.
I was going to take the keys.
So let's call it that for the night then. Okay?
All right. It's a good spot. Our players. Sorry? Okay. Our players included Mick Swan, Jeff Wilkins, Zane Fleming, Troy Wheeldryer, and myself with Sean Little as the Keeper of the Secrets. We're currently trying to produce 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production. In order to create a richer listener experience, we provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel and punch that bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We like reading them. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.